They called her the girl with the golden future. From her earliest years, Adesuwa stood out, not because she was the loudest or most demanding, but because of the fire that burned quietly behind her eyes. She was the daughter of hard-working parents in the city of Benin. Her mother, Mama Isokan, a seamstress who stitched other people's dreams into lace and ankara, and her father, Baba Godfrey, a teacher whose chalk-stained hands shaped many futures but barely earned enough to feed his family. In a neighborhood where the most a girl could hope for was marriage to a man who wouldn't beat her too often, Adesuwa dared to dream beyond the walls of poverty and patriarchy. By age 10, she was already helping her classmates with mathematics. By 15, she was the first girl from her school to win a national essay competition. By 17, she had secured a full scholarship to the University of Lagos to study law. Her parents wept that day, not out of sadness, but out of awe that their daughter was walking a path they had never imagined for themselves. University was a revelation. Adesuwa thrived. She debated in halls filled with the brightest minds in Nigeria. She interned at reputable law firms, argued mock cases with conviction, and volunteered with women's advocacy groups on weekends. She carried herself with the grace of a woman raised on humility and the intellect of a woman built for justice. It was at a legal summit in Abuja, her final year at university, that she met Patrick. Patrick was the kind of man who seemed crafted by a romantic novel, tall, articulate, well-dressed, and disarmingly charming. He was 5 years older, already a respected project consultant working with an international NGO. They shared the same panel, and his admiration for her was evident the moment she spoke. He approached her after the session, complimented her insight, and asked to keep in touch. At first, Adesuwa thought nothing of it. She'd encountered many men who were more threatened than intrigued by her intellect. But Patrick was different, or so she thought. Their relationship bloomed quickly. He was thoughtful, supportive, and endlessly patient. He sent her books he thought she would enjoy, brought her flowers on random days, and attended her advocacy events even when he was the only man in the room. He asked about her dreams, encouraged her ambition, and made her believe she could have love and success without compromise. Within a year, they were engaged. Patrick had proposed at a small gathering with their closest friends and family. Her parents, though slightly wary of how fast everything was moving, gave their blessing. The wedding was beautiful, intimate yet elegant. It wasn't just a union of two people. It was the fulfillment of a girlhood dream, to love and be loved, wholly and without pain. But reality arrived quietly. It started with comments that seemed like jokes. "You argue too much, babe. Must you win every discussion?" Or, "You should be home by now. You know a woman's place is not in court at midnight." At first she laughed them off. Then she began adjusting herself, cancelling dinners with friends, turning down late meetings, changing her clothes to suit his preferences. She thought it was compromise. She thought it was love. 6 months into the marriage, he told her to quit her job. "I make enough for both of us," he said one morning as she ironed her blouse. "We're building a family, not a law firm. It's time to focus on being a wife." She was stunned. "You knew who I was before you married me, Patrick. My work is part of me. And that's the problem, Adesuwa." He snapped, eyes darkening. "You think your work is more important than home." She refused to resign, and that was the day the arguments became storms. When he first hit her, it was after an event where she was awarded for her legal work in defending a woman wrongly imprisoned for murder. Patrick had sat in the audience applauding, but on the drive home, his silence was deafening. "You looked too confident on that stage," he said coldly. "You make me look weak." She tried to reason with him, but when she turned away to take off her earrings, the slap came like thunder. She fell to the ground, stunned not by the pain, but by the betrayal. He cried afterward, begged, promised it would never happen again. And for a while, he returned to the man she loved, the man who cooked dinner and massaged her feet. But soon the cycle returned, and each time it escalated. She began hiding bruises under foundation, wearing long sleeves in heat that begged for bare arms. She told her mother she was tired from work. She told her best friend she'd fallen in the bathroom. She lied to protect a man who didn't hesitate to hurt her, and through it all, she kept working, silently, fiercely, until one night changed everything. It was a Wednesday. She had just returned from defending a teenage girl accused of stabbing her rapist uncle. The courtroom had been tense, the case brutal, but Adesuwa had won. It was one of her proudest days. Patrick was waiting at home. "You defended a murderer?" he spat. "She was raped, Patrick, repeatedly. She defended herself." So now you're defending sluts and calling it justice?" he growled. The fight escalated. She screamed. He punched. She hit the bathroom sink with her head and slid to the floor, blood trickling from her mouth, teeth loose. He left her there, sobbing. That night, something in her broke and something else ignited. In the stillness of dawn, as her heartbeat calmed and the pain throbbed behind her eyes, she crawled to the mirror and whispered, "This is not my ending." She packed a small duffel bag, left her wedding ring on the dresser, and walked out with nothing but her name and a battered sense of self. Adesuwa spent the next 2 months at Safe Haven, a shelter run by women who had seen it all. There she was just another broken woman, and that anonymity saved her. She attended group therapy. She shared her story with strangers who wept with her, and slowly, painfully, she began to find herself again. She returned to work with new fire, opened her own practice, the Ashes Project. The name was deliberate. She wanted every client who walked through her door to know that rising was possible. She specialized in domestic violence, offering pro bono services to women too afraid to speak. And they came, bruised, battered, silenced. But they came. She listened to them all, held their hands, walked into courtrooms and fought like a woman who had nothing left to lose, because she had already lost everything and rebuilt it. One day her past walked back into her life. Patrick. He was the lead counsel for a wealthy client accused of nearly beating his girlfriend to death. Adesuwa stood opposite him in court, her heart thudding but her face unreadable. He smirked during the recess. "Still trying to be a hero, I see." She leaned forward. "Still trying to be a man, I see." The case dragged for weeks. He tried everything, character assassination, legal manipulation. But Adesuwa stood strong. And when the judgment was passed and justice prevailed, she didn't cry. She walked past him without a word, and in her silence, she won. In the months that followed, she gave TED Talks, wrote a book titled Rising, and was appointed as a special advisor on gender-based violence policy. Yet, she never lost touch with her roots. Every Friday, she returned to Safe Haven, speaking with new women, new stories, new survivors. One Friday, as she packed up to leave, a woman approached with 2 children in tow. Her face was swollen, lips split, but her eyes, they were searching. "I heard about you," she said, voice trembling. I left him. I want to live." Adesuwa embraced her. "You already made the hardest choice. The rest we'll do together." Final words. Adesuwa's story is not about a fall, it's about the rise. The power of a woman is not in how much she endures, but in her decision to say no more. She turned pain into power, silence into speech, and fear into fire. She rose from the ashes and became the fire others needed to see.